to start with, where did you go to college, and what were your first few entrepreneurial ventures before BAMCO?
I went to college at Ramapo College in New Jersey, and my first entrepreneurial ventures were, before this, I sold merchandise out of the trunk of my car.
So how did you come up with the idea of BAMCO?
I was working for a company that manufactured building materials. The name of that company was a company called Architectural Panels, Inc. And I was working for them for a couple of years. We were always struggling to find people to install our product. So we decided to open a little division of the company that installed panels. We were minority shareholders. We owned 25% of the stock. The parent company owned 75%. And, we just started from there.
Did you have any risks when you first got into the business?
Certainly.
What were they?
Yeah.
Failure. Failure, without a doubt. That's the biggest, the biggest risk. If you fail, you're going to lose a lot of money. You're going to be in debt. And you're going to have no job. And you'll waste years of your life.
How did you finance your process, and what was it like?
At the time, we were young, and there wasn't much to the company, so it wasn't like we were going to get a loan. We basically took cash advances on our credit cards and maxed out every credit card we had. And it was very frustrating. We were always one step ahead of the bill collector. We went many times without getting paid. And, but eventually you make a buck and you start to pay off some of your debt. But basically it was all self-financed through credit cards. That's how we did it.
Okay, and what has been your most important marketing strategy?
The single most important thing is that always honest, and we always do, regardless of the cost, the very best job that we can. Nothing can replace having a good reputation.
All right. Did you have any pressure from any other companies? Like
pressure from other companies?
Trying to keep you out of that field, like feeling threatened?
Certainly. Nobody wants a new kid on the block. Nobody wants competition. Basically, people would, sell your weaknesses, which are that you're inexperienced, underfinanced, but, you keep fighting and get your foot in the door first because you're low price, and then you go out there and you perform, and eventually, your record will speak for itself.
So what would you say your competitive advantage is then over those companies?
Today?
Yeah, today. Sorry.
We have great talent who work for us, and we have we're very regimented as far as our systems go. So I'd say we have tremendous talent. We have great systems, and that creates a culture that gives you a leg up on everybody else.
When you were in the growing stages, in the early stages of your business, did you have a plan B or some kind of exit strategy?
Never.
Just went with it?
Never had a plan B.
You briefly mentioned that your company was self-financed at the start, right, with credit loans and stuff. Could you talk about briefly whether you had some sort of a strategy to mitigate your risk over, what happens if you couldn't pay those credit cards back? Did you have a sort of brief strategy to sort of try and combat or spread out the overall risk that you were taking up?
I can honestly say we didn't.
Okay.
Failure was not an option.
Okay. So you just relied back to your core values of excellent service and a really good reputation to try to pull you through?
Well, we always figured that we were smart guys. We had a lot of confidence in ourselves, and that if nothing else, we could outwork everybody else.
Did you ever have a tipping point for your business, either good or bad? You knew that you'd hit the jackpot, or that there were some stresses that you were taking on?
Sure. The business has had 3 or 4 tipping points in its history. We have had some consulting firms come in and take a look at how we did things. After maybe 10 or 12 years in business, we brought a management consulting firm in to come in and take a real look at, help us develop some systems. That was important because it gave our business some structure rather than just a couple of young entrepreneurs running. That was very, very important. At around year 17 or so, 18, we made a pretty significant move and hired a seasoned chief financial officer to run the financial end of the business, which, gave us a lot of discipline and freed myself and Alan up to, really focus on the things that we do most at the company. I would say, they would be two of the more significant things. Your first $1 million job is a real big threshold. It gives you some confidence. I would say they would probably be a couple of the real watershed moments.
Okay. If you started the business in this generation, what one thing you would do differently?
I might have benefited from a little more education.
Okay.
I can't really say if I had it to do over again. My guess is I probably would have ended up playing it the exact same way.
Okay, cool.
How do you think being an entrepreneur has turned you into a better person, if it has?
That is a very, very good question. And I would say that one of the most biggest things that it's done is that it's exposed me to many, many, many more people and what their issues are in life, because you have employees who, you're constantly, you're a family, you work together. We have so many people who have been here for 10 years. So, number one, the exposure to really what's inside so many other people has probably, that doubt made me a better person, a little more humble. It's made me look at things from all different sides of the table. Number one. Number two, or the other thing that I would say is, my own experiences are, right now it's a nice run. I'm in my 50s. We've been at it for 30 years, but there was many, 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 many years of struggle, of no money. And it's that forced me to be disciplined, probably give me a little better respect for a dollar.
Do you have any advice to offer for new entrepreneurs, like the people in our group?
Absolutely. Number one, be honest. Don't bullshit people, because people, the really sharp people will see through that. Number one. Number two, there is no substitute for hard work. No substitute, no substitute, no substitute. And if you work as hard as you can, first of all, most people don't. So it puts you ahead of the pack to begin with. And if you do your very, very best every single day, odds are you'll do well. So you got to do your very, very best every day, all day long, at everything that you're tasked with. And the last thing that I would tell you is that, we all read the stories about the dot-coms, and we all know about the instant millionaires, and that does happen. And, some people hit the lottery too. But the reality is it takes most people 20 years to develop a successful business. And you have to stick to it, and you can't run. And the first sign of, bad times, you have to do your best, and you got to stick with it. And if you do those things, odds are good things will happen.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mike.
You're very welcome, Kate.
And
hope you guys got something out of this. Hope you
Yeah.
found it interesting. And hope you walk away with a couple of tidbits that you hang on to for the rest of your life.
For sure.